Tape eaters, motherfuckers. We're going to talk about Asian Bigfoot, which we've done before. I don't know if we've ever gone into this much detail with it, though. Maybe some other folkloric ideas in there. Tales of war, tales of yokai. Many things. And this is another thing.
Vietnam Bigfoot.
I got a tendency
Vietnam
to
War.
hit... Hell yeah, dude. I remember back in Nam, all the fucking Bigfoots in the fucking platoon. They were my brothers in arms.
They were the best MG gunners.
Is there, and this is the sort of thing I should think of before I hit the record button. Is there any fucking like hot current events that I should be aware of and like talking about? I heard Joe Biden ate pizza.
Yeah, that was funny.
It was kind of funny.
But all the freaking soldiers are looking at him. He's retarded.
Well, I don't know. Oh wait, I gotta pull it up now. I can't let this fucking slide.
Yeah,
I saw this one Twitter post by some fucking boomer, and it was the most glorious thing I had ever seen.
Yeah, I saw you posted.
Oh hell, I posted it fucking everywhere.
Yeah. He like typed it all caps over there.
Where is it? Here we go. The troops are aghast that this buffoon is the president. Joe Biden digs into that pizza pie like an animal before the soldiers got any. In the military, the senior officer always eats last. And have some manners, for crying out loud. This is the sort of political reporting that I fucking crave in my life. Anything else happened? Fucking Tulsi Gabbard went on Hannity and talked about how, like, there's no reason to get involved in the Russia-Ukraine shit, and there's nothing we can do, and it's over for Ukraine.
And Hannity was probably like, but Ukraine, gotta send soldiers.
His problem is, like, shouldn't we, you're saying we shouldn't arm them? And it's like, yeah, let's arm more, like, foreign countries. Let's make sure there's plenty of weapons.
This is what aggravates me. They're fucking arming 15-year-old Ukrainian dudes, and they're like sending them into a meat market. Yeah.
Exactly. Now you take all these weapons, let's throw them in the most unstable fucking place possible, where like anybody could take fucking hold of that shit at any time. And it's like, this is gonna go fucking great.
It's already happened once.
It's just unbelievable that they keep getting away with this shit. Like, it's unbelievable.
Back in there was like 2017 or 2018, it got memory hold, but they tried to give Ukraine some air defense shit, surface-to-air missiles, I think. And Ukraine didn't secure them correctly, and the rebels in Donetsk fucking captured them. So there was that. That was a big gaffe back then.
The same thing with the Taliban.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's sickening that Fox News can have this many people like on board with all this stupid Ukraine shit and have them like side by side, hand in hand, with all the fucking Democrats on fucking CNN. They all agree, and it's all the same fucking lies they've been telling for decades. How are these people? These people have lived through this shit.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw that fucking the Chan's band got their Reddit Legion missile struck again.
Who?
Yeah, okay, back in 2018 in Syria, the Syrian civil war, there was a board on Syria general. They targeted an ISIS training facility using, the sky pictures and like satellite imagery. Well, they did the same thing supposedly, from what I've seen people posting on the Reddit Legion when you. The Redditors that went over there to take pictures and party, basically. And then, they got fucking wiped out.
So I fucking heard about, like, Ukrainian women going and crossing over into Poland. And apparently there's been lots of trans women showing up at the border and getting turned back, being told to go fucking fight.
Trans.
Get the fuck in there.
They're sending them to the front.
Hell yeah. So I think that's the end for fucking current events. What else we got?
I've also heard like the fucking Ukrainian girls, wherever they're ending up, they're all on fucking Tinder acting like they're single, and you know damn well they have fucking boyfriends or husbands. They're like in a war.
Yeah, they dead
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they're
Rest in
either dead or
peace.
probably dead. Yeah. My ex's brothers, who knows what fucking happened to them? I feel bad. They weren't bad dudes, but you know, shit happens.
It sure does. It sure fucking does. And that's what only Tulsi Gabbard understands. Talk about fucking smash or pass. I'd smash the shit out of that one still.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, so fuck all this current events crap. Also, how about this? Where were the Japanese spiders? Where were those
Yeah,
fucking
that's what
spiders that are
shit
supposed to
happened.
drop out of the sky? Where the fuck they go?
No spooky
Disappointed. Did they
spider
fucking
apocalypse.
change the?
What?
I wanted my spider apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way the world could end, really. And we were talking about Fox Rock broke and how that might unleash the spiders upon us. Here, there's nothing. And it's funny, too. When this shit was, like, really hot and it was on, like, the news and TV and all this dumb shit, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with, like, family members, and they're talking about this, and I'm like, I just want you to remember that this is all going to blow over in 2 weeks and nothing's going to fucking happen. And it
You're
always does,
right.
because it's just a small example. It's not a significant thing, but it's like, remember the spiders, and then maybe you'll start to understand when you see like geopolitics occurring on your TV. That this is all going to blow over in 2 weeks, and none of it will ever fucking matter. And that's an important thing to remember when you're watching the fucking media. So about that Asian Bigfoot.
Yeah.
What you think about that? Were you
see-
surprised to learn how common the Bigfoot sightings were in Asia?
Yes, very.
Yes, like that's the thing I thought was I knew about the rock ape stuff from Vietnam, and I knew about like there was a Japanese Bigfoot, but that's all I knew. And then the the Yeti stuff. But every like country, Singapore has a monkey man. Fucking Laos and Vietnam have like primate humanoid things. So it's like it's almost like there's subspecies of these beings everywhere, whatever they.
It could be taken in many different directions. Like there's people who would take this in like a portal direction, like they're not physical beings that they're moving through, and they're everywhere because they move their fucking portals.
Yeah.
But then you could also take it.
And what if
You could say
who's
like
to say that if they are portals? Like why does that make them animals? What if they're just fucking animals that can use portals?
maybe. I feel like that's a stretch at that point.
Yeah.
It could. I wouldn't write it off completely, but I don't see. I don't
I
know.
mean, what if something fucking like came to live in like the between zone of different dimensions or shit? Yeah.
I can get that to an extent, but the difference between,
Yeah.
I guess, animal and something more sentient, more human, it is that it's not based completely in the material and carnal world, the world of like shitting and eating and fucking and that alone.
Yeah.
And when I think of something like traveling through space and time, I think of them more like Eastern cities, like you would see in India or something like that. Like they seem like powers of like a cultivated mind. And that's how I generally interpret that immediately. Like I have a hard time seeing like evolution granting that as its like a survival tactic.
Well, you got
like, when
you also got the Hindi monkey god like in India.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Hanuman. Yes.
Yeah.
I see like evolution seems like in biology it seems to like perfect you for an ecosystem, to fill a niche in an ecosystem. And it takes something a little more than that to rise above it and to have the kind, like the human like sentience to colonize the world. I think that takes something a little more. And I think the ability to go through portals, that's something you hear in like the highest levels of spirituality. And I don't think that's something that biology would make through evolution.
Right.
That takes a greater capacity for thought.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, and that's the thing about, the theory of evolution and that shit is that it's a million fucking holes in it. Some of it's probably true. But, what they say, the half-truths are the worst.
Yeah, I think in general, like the idea makes sense to me, but I also see periods of time where beings would either it could have either influenced it, but I also don't necessarily know that that's. I don't know. That's pretty tenuous. Like, a lot of people believe that, and I wouldn't write it off at all, that humans were influenced to become a higher species. But then it's like when you look at the way humans influence their own evolution, you start talking about shit like eugenics and shit like that capability. Like, you can see how intellect does influence evolution, whether it's from like an outside source or it's from the species itself. And that's the part where like just science can't really account for. It cannot account for that shit.
You know, if you listen to the fucking tapes that came out of Yosemite, I think in California, I forget who recorded them, but they're famous. The Bigfoot tapes you hear where they do the samurai chant, or whatever. It's almost like they have a language. So maybe you're right, them simply being more than.
I believe it was that was recorded by Ron Moorhead, in Sierra Nevada, something like that. The Sierras,
California,
yeah. So yeah, I could see that with language. I really want Bigfoot to be a biological creature solely. I don't want any of this weird metaphysical shit. I want it to be an ape.
Yeah.
But it almost seems impossible when you gather all of the quote unquote evidence together. Like, language, I can believe, is just a biological creature that's inhabiting its niche in nature. I can see that. But then when you start to get like to telepathic Bigfoot, and some of the shit is taken pretty fucking. It's taken pretty seriously. It's in a lot of the most famous Bigfoot accounts. It's like, that makes it harder to believe. I still, there's so much evidence. Some of it seems like really good evidence that I would never want to write it off, no matter how silly it gets. And it does get silly.
Yeah.
All right.
But, you have these beings that influence, possibly spirituality in some cultures, because
definitely.
that like venerated Bigfoot as like a nature spirit.
Yeah, Tibet and Nepal have some kind of thing like that on the go as well. The Yeti and the Backfoot and all that.
Yeah, he's like man that's like become one with nature.
Yeah, and they consider it like a deity, basically.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's cut to that fucking Yeti video. Let's hit the fucking video, bro.
Incredible claim by a respected Oxford researcher. He says he has proof that the Yeti, the abominable snowman of the Himalayas, is in fact real, and its descendants are alive. ABC's Nick Watt has the story.
The centuries-old myth of the Yeti, fueled by those grainy photographs, the monstrous footprints, and our wild imaginations, might not be a...
Oh, do I not have it pulled up? Fuck. Still got Pokemon up.
Yeah.
That ain't right.
Yeah.
That ain't proper. All right. There you go. Let's roll it back.
Its descendants are alive. ABC's Nick Watt has the story.
The centuries-old myth of the Yeti, fueled by those grainy photographs, the monstrous footprints, and our wild imaginations, might not be a myth after all.
I've collected hair samples from creatures that are thought to have been Yetis.
One hair from a weird creature shot by a Himalayan bear hunter 40 years ago, the other found stuck to a bamboo shoot in a forest by a film crew just 10 years ago. Now, the DNA from those mysterious Himalayan hairs, he says, just proved a 100% match with an ancient polar bear that died on an Arctic island more than 40,000 years ago, leading our hirsute professor to make a startling claim. Yeti lives.
It's some kind of new bear species. It might be a hybrid.
Smaller, says the professor, than the Yetis we've seen in Monsters, Inc.
Do I look abominable to you?
Or that towering claymation Yeti in those old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer TV specials.
Dude, this shit's gonna get my channel taken down.
Says the professor, polar bears crossbred with brown bears tens of thousands of years ago, and their mysterious descendants survive to this day, roaming high in these snowy mountains.
This dude literally saying that the Yeti is a bear.
Yeah, that's
how do you
scary.
feel?
Like, that's the thing is we have roller bears where they're grizzly and polar combined, and they don't look anything like a Yeti.
I've heard that the real etymology behind Yeti is like bear man or something like that, but bear was explicitly in it, and I heard it was mistranslated to abominable or like terrible or something like that. But the real word actually did mean bear, which is interesting. But then you see like all these Tibetan monks with their Yeti relics, and like they're not bear parts. That's for fucking sure.
Nope.
Yeah,
Looks
they're
like Yeti.
8 parts. Yeah.
Maybe could it be that people who weren't getting a good look at it with no reference for a great ape were just calling them like bear men?
Maybe.
Because like, you know, the fur, the size, with the humanoid characteristics.
Because people in Tibet probably don't even have monkeys. Like in India, they have some species of monkeys. Like there's no apes in that area, I would think.
Yep, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So, full on board the Yeti train, huh? The one thing I find interesting about the Yeti is that there's like no video. There's no Yeti videos.
I've seen some photos.
But then again,
that's about it.
Yeah.
How many people are like walking around with smartphones and like very rural Tibet?
That's true. That's very true. They would say like the Yeti is often seen. It's often depicted as like a white furred creature, but that's not the way it is traditionally. It's got brown fur. It looks very much like Bigfoot, and that it's mostly seen traversing over like the snowy mountains. But in theory, it wouldn't live on these mountains. It would be traversing them to get to the next valley or whatever, and that's where it would live.
Yeah.
One thing is that there are definitely videos of like Almas or Almasty, the Russian Bigfoot. You can find those around, and when you look at this area of the Himalayas, like China and Russia like aren't too far off, and they both have their Bigfoot variant. And I don't know, the Himalayas are kind of far off from fucking Russia. I don't really know my geography that well. My point is that all of these places kind of have overlap from one to the next. So if they were all like,
it's and it's not that far technically from central Russia, like where Barnaul, Russia is, and you got the Scythians that used to inhabit Central Asia that could have brought spirituality from the Himalayas, perhaps to the Slavic people who lived under Scythian occupation for probably 2,000 years. They assume. Because they assume the Slavic people were always in Eastern Europe, just under someone else's control until they gained their independence around like 300 AD. But yeah, I mean, you have a link between Central Asia and Eastern Europe and the Himalayas. So
yeah. Most definitely. Fucking A. So I am kind of at the point where I think the Almas, the Yeren, and the Yeti are kind of all the same creature. I did find this list of...
and the Bigfoot, yeah.
And the Bigfoot, that's a different... it might be different, because if these are, like, biological creatures, and that's all there is to it, then, like, this would have to be a different species evolving, you know.
Subspecies, yeah. Yeah, like the skunk apes are more chimp-like.
I don't even know if I would call it a subspecies, necessarily. Because, like, I think it could be akin to, like, an orangutan versus a gorilla.
Yeah.
Things that are superficially so similar that when we see them, we see the same creature. But if we could get that good look, maybe we would see these differences.
Yeah, or if we could capture one,
That's another note I was thinking of earlier, is that, like, all throughout history, it was very common for humans to live on Earth with other humanoid creatures. So
yeah, like Neanderthals.
It wouldn't surprise me to know that was still happening.
Yeah.
In these very secluded places with these, I don't know, and I think these would have to be creatures that if they are animals, and that's all there is to it, then they would have had to have evolved to avoid humans. That had to have been part of their evolutionary strategy.
Yeah, like a stealth strategy.
Stealth build.
Yeah.
While we're talking about human species, so you guys know about Homo floresiensis. Someone say it for me. I can't say it right.
Hobbits?
Oh, the Hobbit
The Hobbit
people?
man from
Yeah,
Indonesia or whatever. Yeah. So they were a human species that lived up to like 10,000 years ago, relatively recent. And they were half the size of us, 3 feet tall, actual fucking hobbits. Have you guys seen the video of the supposed Hobbit man? It's
the one where they're like in the Philippines.
Yeah,
They're driving.
let's check this out.
Yeah.
Because it's very relevant, and I think it is the best cryptid video there is. Period. I think, at least. Here we go. Shitty YouTube opening. Come on now. Let's do this. Little dude.
Whoa.
Little dude, no pants. Runs out of the forest, grabs a fucking little stick, or maybe he's got a fucking spear. I'm not sure. Little dude. Look at him book it. 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yep.
Like he knows what the fuck he's doing. Look at this shit.
It's a little person.
Yep.
It's a little dude. He's getting away, dude. Don't let him get away. You gotta tie him up.
Put him in a gunny sack.
Off into the bush.
Yep.
What the fuck do you think that was? Is this real, first and foremost?
Yes.
This is real. This is a real fucking video.
Like they're actually surprised to see it. Yeah.
It's not even about their reactions. I have a hard time judging that, but the detail in this fucking little guy.
That's real.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way this is CGI. Things. This is so perfect, and it's moving so realistically, like it knows its way around. Like it's meant to be running through the jungle like this, and just off into the bush. Like,
kind of had an orange skin, didn't it?
Little Donald Trump guys running around.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Right there, you can see
right
orange.
in the bush. Under the tall grass.
So this also ties into ideas of the orang pendek, which is supposed to be a smaller humanoid ape creature that lived in this area. It was said to have orange hair, kind of like an orangutan's, but it stood upright on 2 legs. Some stories said that its feet were backwards so that it would evade, people hunting it or whatever. And some have asserted that's what's in this video. But I think it's much more likely that this is an actual humanoid species that's living today in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. And I think the assumption would be that they live underground. That's something I've heard. Like, I think the stories about the little people say they live underground. That's something you hear all over the world, actually.
Yes.
And that's why you have so little evidence of them. Look how difficult it is for these guys to get through here. Like, that's some bullshit to have to walk through and not be able to see what you're doing. You got your little stick so you can fucking make a path.
They're looking for that opium lettuce.
But that fucking little guy just ran the fuck in there knowing exactly what he was doing and disappeared right into that grass. Oh, is that the stick from the little guy? I don't know. Dude, fuck YouTube. Fuck these people in YouTube. I hate all these stupid noises. Pisses me the fuck off.
The electronic farts and sharts and...
So we can move on to the BFRO's reports of Chinese Bigfoots, big feets. Wildman Yeren Bigfoot reports. Wildman Yeren Bigfoot reports from Hubei province in China.
Does Sasquatch have a good credit score? A social credit?
He has a terrible social credit score. He can't stop going on the internet and fucking using slurs. Someone has to stop this madman. He got kicked off a Gab. This collection of newspaper articles, yada yada. Let's get to these reports. Tourists visit location of Bigfoot in fall. Source, Xinhua News Agency in China from May 26, 2000. From Wuhan. Here you go, boys.
Wuhan.
Guided tours in the periphery of Shenongjia Nature Reserve, believed home to the Bigfoot, will be provided in the fall, said Wang Zhenyu, mayor of Yichang City, where the Three Gorges project is under construction. They will be able to visit the road where the local residents have reportedly seen Bigfoot, but tourists will not be allowed to go further into the nature reserve, Wang said. So, that's pretty crazy. We got these... So, is this... something like this sounds like a fucking tourist trap. Then you're immediately like, tourists aren't allowed in. Mm-hmm. Are they legitimately afraid that Western tourists are going to get captured by Bigfoot in the forest?
Yes.
I think it probably is. Here we go.
Weird.
How about this one? From December 6, 1999. China tracks red-haired corn-eating Bigfoot. From Beijing, December 6th. Reuters. Standing 2.5 meters, 8 feet tall, with long red hair and a taste for corn on the cob, Bigfoot is back and apparently running around the nature reserve in central China, state media said on Monday. Chinese scientists are on the trail of the legendary ape-like beast after a hunter reported seeing a huge, fast-moving creature covered in long, red hair in Hubei province's Shenanjia Nature Reserve 2 months ago, the China Daily said. The scientists found 16-inch footprints, brown hair, and chewed corn cobs at the spot where the hunter said he saw the beast, and concluded they were not left by a bear, it said. Scientists have unearthed hundreds of fossilized teeth of giant apes in the area, and some speculate that Bigfoot could be a descendant of such primates, it said. So we have the red hair here, which is interesting, because that takes us right to like Nephilim ideas and, you know, like South American ideas of giants.
You saw the little, like, Indonesian hobbit dude had red hair, it looked like.
Possibly.
When he was like, one scene where he's like, the sun is hitting it, you can see it's got red or orange.
The corn is also interesting. I've heard numerous Bigfoot reports of them hanging out in cornfields. It's not surprising that that's what they would like to eat. But I have seen, like, I've heard stories. There's like a classic, like, Almas Russian Bigfoot video where it's like running through what looks like a cornfield. I don't know what exactly it is. But yeah, that's the stuff I dreamed about as a kid. To be just like driving along in the back of the car and see that shit in like the woods next to me. In the field next to me, wherever, dude. I just wanted to see Bigfoot. Still do. If you're out there, Bigfoot, if you're watching this, meet me somewhere.
Yeah. If he's watching this, he needs to come on the stream. Friggin'.
We'll get him on live Bigfoot talk show. Chinese team hunting a red-headed Bigfoot. From June 25th, 1997. Reuters. Researchers hunting for China's elusive hairy Bigfoot may have found footprints of the legendary creature, the Xinhua news agency said Tuesday. Hundreds of very large footprints resembling those of a man, but much larger, have been seen in the forests of the mountainous Shenanjia National Park in central Hubei province, the agency quoted Fang Chen, head of the privately run Committee for Research on... I almost said a bad word. Committee for Strange and Rare Creatures, as saying, "We have made preliminary conclusions that they were left by two animals walking on two legs," it said, quoting Wang, who had been hunting for the fabled creature for several years. So this is the same guy we just heard about. Maybe this is some kind of quack who just wants to make his fame on Bigfoot. The biggest footprint is 37 centimeters or 15 inches long. Very similar to that of a man, but it's quite larger than that of a man. It is different from the footprints of a bear or any other identified animals. He said he believed the creature that made the footprints weighed about 440 pounds. Wang had led a team of 30 scientists on a fruitless hunt through Shenanjia last summer. He had vowed to resume his search for the fabled 6.5-foot-tall, red-haired, human-like creature that is part of local folklore. Wang's team found a similar footprint left by two other mysterious creatures in Shenanjia last winter, Xinhua said. Progress towards unraveling the myth of the wild man would be of great scientific significance, Wang said, but he urged caution and warned researchers not to jump to swift conclusions without hard scientific evidence. Theories about the mythical creature, with some scientists speculating that if it exists, it may be an unknown primate, some arguing that it may be a bear or a monkey, and others suggesting it could be a missing evolutionary link between ape and human, which is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. The missing link thing is incredibly fucking dumb. It's such a stupid thing to say. Because how the fuck would something that evolved like parallel to us for this long after humans have been a thing be a missing link?
It would.
It doesn't make any goddamn sense. I hate reading this. It triggers me. Arcandre in the chat says cornhole eating Bigfoot. Scar says corn syrup Bigfoot. Yeah. See if we have any more good stories here. It sounds like a lot of bullshit, dog. Sounds like scientists be out there looking and not finding. I wonder how much money goes into these Bigfoot searches.
Mm.
You think maybe Bigfoot's afraid to show up because his low social credit score?
That might be true.
Yes.
Yeah, because they'll put him in a freaking hockey crew.
Legendary wild man, cousin of Bigfoot, exists. From Beijing. Scientists say that an analysis of hair reportedly belonging to China's version of the abominable snowman has proven the existence of the legendary wild man that roams southwestern forests, a news report said Tuesday. The distribution of trace elements in the wild man hairs is different from that of modern man, black bears, orangutans, and other animals, Shanghai's Wenhui Bao newspaper said. This objectively proves the existence of the wild man, a rare and advanced primate that is similar to man, it said. A team of 100 Chinese researchers headed for the mountain forests of central Hubei province in June in an effort to solve the 9,000-year-old mystery of the half-man, half-ape, whom numerous peasants in the area claim to have seen. Dude, just using the word peasants like that, that's pretty based. Ballsy, dude.
Yep.
Peasant witnesses speak of a man-beast, at least 7 feet tall with reddish hair and long swinging arms. The swinging arms thing comes up again. And obviously in like modern great apes, like you see them using their arms to propel them. That's partly because they they so often walk on their knuckles. They almost have like a quadrupedal gape to them. But it's not too far off to think that a great ape that is bipedal would still use its arms in some fashion. And like you can look at the Patty video, the swinging of the arms is a constant in Bigfoot videos. Where were we? Peasant witnesses.
That the thing I was talking about with the dude in the Pennsylvania claimed to see a Bigfoot swinging on limbs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Peasant witnesses speak of a man-beast at least 7 feet tall with reddish hair and long swinging arms. A number have claimed that they heard the wild man emit a laugh that sounded almost human. Nicknamed Fei Fei by Chinese scientists, the creature is a cousin to North America's Bigfoot and the legendary abominable snowman of the Himalayas. Atomic and chemical analyses showed that the levels of calcium, iron, and copper to be higher in the hair of the wild man compared to 9 other mammals, including man, black bears, golden monkeys, and orangutans, the report said. So this is almost talking, like, the way this stuff talks is almost assuming that this shit is real.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how a lot of it seems to be in the East. And you could say it's a more, what's the word
spiritual
for it? Yeah, the folklore is far more alive over there. Superstitious people, you could say.
Yes.
But, I don't really buy that.
Everybody's just less gaslit.
Maybe. That might be exactly it. Let's move to China, guys. I hear it's really nice over there. They don't gaslight you at all. We're going to have a great time.
We can all get jobs at the Nike factory with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. That's why you don't see any Chinese Bigfoots. They're all working in the Nike factory. Slave labor.
Hate those fucking shoes. While we're on the topic, before we get off of Chinese Bigfoot, let's look at this video of a man who is a hybrid Yeren human.
Yeren and human. This is weird. Yeah.
Yeren once again being the Chinese Bigfoot.
Oh no.
Look at him go. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. That's a cryptid. Holy fuck. Forget how
the story here is literally that his mother got dragged off into the wilderness by a Yeren and raped like crazy. And she came back pregnant with this dude.
Well, that's horrifying.
It sure is. Sure is.
I wonder, well, this is actually a common story from like the Tibetan plateau and the Himalayas.
Yeah.
So there's your video evidence. So Yeti's real. Okay. So is Banjankri. Backfoot's real, guys.
This Look at this fucking dude.
I know. Look at him scuttle around.
He's out there. He moves like you know, like the Wendigos moving in the stories. Where they like shamble around and stuff.
They should just say fuck it and show his balls.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think they're saying about him? You think they're making fun of his little pinhead?
I don't know.
Come on, this is offensive,
he almost
guys.
does have a sagittal crest. Like the sagittal crest.
Yeah, you're going right into it.
About. Yeah.
Wow.
God, I wish I was half Bigfoot. That'd make life a lot easier.
Maybe.
Make everyone else's lives a lot harder, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
That's the point of it all, really. That's what it's all about. Dude got a crest. Let's check the beginning of this video out again. Dude.
Wow.
Oh, he does.
What'd he be built like, dude? Fucking I don't even know. I can't even wrap my mind around his physique. This is how I want to look. I'm gonna go to the gym just so I can look like him. What you think he's eating on? I want to eat that.
Bananas. Corn.
Look how fit, how quick he moves.
Like a Skinwalker. Jesus.
Yeah, it's real.
Kind of just shambles at you aggressively.
Alright, from there we can go straight into... Oh, I gotta try not to ear rape everybody as I fucking hit play on this video. We can go right into Japanese Bigfoot. How about that, boys?
Sure.
Ah! Fucking goddamn YouTube video editors. What kind of monkey boy that, though? Alright,
Yeah.
What are we saying? Are we
It
seeing...
looks like Japanese Bigfoot.
We're seeing Ape Man?
Yeah.
Nobody else sees man in costume?
I
What
mean,
could be
maybe.
a costume man? Is it costume man or is it
It has to be a
costume man?
good costume.
It's costume man.
I don't know how good the
It might be
costume
good.
is. The legs look too straight, like pants.
Maybe.
Looks like gorilla costume.
Yeah, this is costume man.
I hate to just
This
rain
is
on the
gay.
parade.
Yeah, this
What's he
is
doing?
fake and
What
gay.
kind of...
Stirring up some
He's
tourists.
trying to catch him.
He just took a shit and had to wipe his wipe his ass with his hands, and I was cleaning them off by the river.
He ate at Japanese Taco Bell.
Fuck's he doing? Why is he acting so stupid?
He's getting the tourists to come.
Dude look constipated.
この映像を見てほしい。これを見る限り、ヒバゴンは必ず存在する。ヒバゴンは
I like the flow their language has.
うるさい我々人間を避ける。
Escaping into the forest. He's not moving very adeptly. He doesn't look like he knows what he's
No.
doing. Looks like he got a little too high. He's like, oh, I don't know how to get down. What do I do now? We found this video on YouTube. It looks to be some kind of documentary short or a news report. We don't fucking know.
県のヒバ山で
Turns out it's just an advertisement from the prefecture's Department of Tourism.
我々人間を避ける。
So yeah, my vote is definitely costume on this. I'd like to even say deepfake on this. I
Yeah.
can't even do that.
No, it's a costume.
It's a fucking goofball who doesn't know what to do in the costume. He has no goddamn idea to act like a fucking animal. He's being a fucking goober. It's really a bad look for him, if you ask me.
Think they paid him good to do this?
Dude, absolutely not. They let him keep the costume.
Yes.
So, Raflamau says, achievable natty in reference to the half man, half Yaren. I think so. Stereo says, right away I thought costume man. The way he moves doesn't look like his natural habitat. Yeah, looks like he's pantomiming like an idiot. Midwest Vikinger says, whoop whoop. What you rather breed, a Skinwalker or Wendigo? I'll take the Wendigo because I would imagine it's a little more wild and feisty. At the end of the day, it's a very similar experience, but the Skinwalker kind of has her life together. She's going to want to leave me. The Wendigo's got nothing better to do.
The Wendigo's the crackhead GF.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead of crack, she's after the man meat.
So let's talk about this Japanese Bigfoot, the Hibagon. Hibagon?
Well,
Hibagon.
My bleep just evolved to work on land now here in Spore Land, so.
You're playing Spore over here. This dough. The Hibagon is a Japanese version of North America's Bigfoot, said to live on Mount Hiba of the Hiroshima Prefecture. Not much is known about the Hibagon, but some say that it is a quiet beast that is said to run from four-armed residents that hunt. What the fuck? It is a quiet beast that is said to run from four-armed residents, then hunt them. I don't know what that sentence means. Like all hominids, they have a unique stench.
Four-arm stuff?
What's that?
That shit comes up in like Norse paganism, and it also comes up in like Hindu paganism. You know, the four-armed gods and the I forget his name in Norse, but it's like Stanagar or Stanarek or something. And yeah, he's like a four-armed like warrior that was really good at war, I guess you could say.
So this dude have a unique stench, and he is said to smell like decomposing flesh. Hibagon is reddish brown or black in color, sometimes reported as having a patch of white fur on its chest or arms. It is said to be foul-smelling, with a face covered in bristles, a snub nose, and glaring, intelligent eyes. The face is sometimes said to be long.
Skunk ape stuff.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that here, and it's a smaller creature. The face is sometimes said to be long and somewhat protruding, rather than flat like a human's. And the head is often reported as proportionately large and shaped somewhat like an inverted triangle. I like how, because this is an Asian Bigfoot, they assume that our faces are flat. That's racist of them.
The Lois ape. Yeah, it's like the Deloitte ape guy that was like convinced all humans were like descended from somewhere as apes.
Dude,
so that's why he was trying to kill us off.
Montandon, what the fuck was it? Some shit like that. I think
so.
Yeah.
Deloitte, yeah.
But his buddy, Montandon or whatever, was the guy who was writing these books about the, like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't know, what's the word for this? About how fucking all Native Americans stemmed from, well, more importantly, all humans in Africa came from gorillas. All people in Asia came from orangutans. Some shit like this. And he's trying to figure out where the Native Americans came from. And for that, he specifically needed to find a North American great ape. And that's where Deloitte's ape comes in. It's a fucking fascinating story. Do you think that's...
Yeah, and then like you get people that like, well, you know, they say it's a hoax.
Did I say North American? I meant South American.
Fucking ape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a spider monkey?
Well, if it's a spider monkey, aren't they from Africa? So, like, what would one be doing in South America?
No, they're from South America.
Oh, okay. Well, then it could be. Yeah. But
the face on that thing is fucked up.
If it is a spider monkey, they've got it all like fucking contorted and stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure. The fucking maybe we should do a whole deep dive on Deloitte's ape. To be honest, I don't know. That might get us banned from YouTube because it's kind of fucking spicy.
Yeah,
but it's good stuff. We could
censor it with words like Pepsi or Sprite.
That's true.
Yeah, you could censor.
The Hibagon is much smaller than its North American counterpart, being most commonly reported as around 5 feet in height and estimated as weighing about 180 pounds. In many respects, the Hibagon is more ape-like than the Sasquatch as well. It is often described as looking like a gorilla or giant monkey, and although it is most often seen moving bipedally, many reports tell of the creature moving about on all fours quite easily. Some eyewitnesses even claim the animal was hopping along like a monkey. Other notable features are the Hibagon's apparent lack of fear of people and the absence of any sort of vocalizations in the reports. The Hibagan is mostly known from a series of sightings lasting from 1970 to 1982. Probably the first Hibagan sighting account occurred in early 1970 when a group of elementary school students out picking wild mushrooms in the forest of Mount Hiba were terrified to come across an ape-like creature crashing through brush nearby. So the out-picking wild mushrooms sounds very similar to the out-picking berries stories that we have, in Europe and America.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like it also goes back to the Fae stuff because what do Fae like to sit on in the forest supposedly? Mushrooms and boulders.
Yeah. In that same year, July 1970, the creature was spotted again by a utilities truck driver. The driver reported seeing a gorilla-like creature on two legs stride across a field near a dam, run across the road, and disappear into the forest. Several days later, on July 23, 1970, the creature appeared again, this time out of brush and long grass in front of a surprised farmer, who described the Hibagan as being as tall as an average man, covered in black fur, and having a grotesque face with piercing, intelligent eyes. The Hibagan was also sighted walking through a rice paddy in the town of Saijo around that same time. In December of that same year, strange tracks of the alleged creature measuring 21 centimeters in length were found in the snow of Mount Hiba. More tracks would be uncovered in the following years, and one of the longest trackways stretched on for 300 meters. By this time, the reports were becoming well known and well publicized in the media, while at the same time, the rural residents of the area were growing increasingly uneasy about the strange animal being seen in the forests. Sightings continued, and area residents became so uneasy that the county, now known as Saijo Shobara, actually set up a department to deal with the phenomena. In addition to documenting eyewitness accounts and trying to get to the bottom of what was going on, the department also launched patrols around the area in hopes of finding whatever was causing reports. Kobe University conducted an investigation of the area in 1972 to try and find physical evidence of the Hibagan, and police managed to make plaster casts at a construction site of some tracks, allegedly made by the creature. No evidence was turned up by the university, and the tracks were found to be inconclusive. So how does a Bigfoot creature get to Japan? Now, we were talking about the proximity of say the Himalayas to China to Russia. All of that makes sense. Japan doesn't really make much sense. There's not much space there as far as a biological creature.
Well, it lives in a mountain, right?
In the mountain? I don't know. Maybe it does live in the mountain. I don't know. It almost makes me want to think portals or yokai.
Nature spirits.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sightings continued through 1972 and 1973, almost always during summer months, and in 1974 there was a significant spike in the amounts of reports. One such sighting occurred on August 15, 1974, when a motorist spotted a large blackish animal walking near the road on four legs. When the creature sensed the approaching vehicle, it is reported as standing up and walking along on two legs. The shocked driver then stopped the car and snapped a photo of the creature trying to hide itself behind a persimmon tree.
Yes.
No photo to be found, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Other sightings in 1974 include a Hibagan that was spotted crossing a road on June 20th, 1974. The driver described it as moving along in a series of hopping leaps. On July 15th, 1974, a woman saw one near her house and described it as very ape-like, like a gorilla walking around on two legs and about 1.6 meters tall. There was even video footage taken of one walking along a remote mountain road. However, the footage is blurry and of poor quality. Many tracks were also discovered in the year of 1974, including a series of prints found on August 21st in a mountain valley. The footprints were 30 centimeters long, which is not large for a Sasquatch, but some of the biggest prints found for an alleged Hibagan. After the surge... What's that?
The friggin', every time they do a test with the footprints or the fur, it's always inconclusive, or, yeah, this has partial human DNA, or, But they always say inconclusive. Well, they don't disprove anything. Like, what
It
if
doesn't.
It just doesn't? Yeah, it doesn't match anything that we know of. It's a different animal.
That's
Why
generally
would
what it means, is that it doesn't match anything perfectly, and there's nothing else to compare it to, so we might as well just throw it out, generally. Yeah. That's how they feel.
Yeah, like that's what they say. So, like, it's not a definite yes or no. So it's so fucking weird.
After the surge of eyewitness accounts in 1974, sightings of the Hibagan dropped off almost completely until 1980, when one was seen fleeing across a river with a bounding gait near the town of Yamano, where it became known as the Yamagan. It was spotted in the same area again in 1981 on a road near a health center, but perhaps the most remarkable sighting of the time occurred in 1982 in Mitsugi, which is located about 30 kilometers west of Yamano. In this report, the Hibagan was described as being more along the lines of Sasquatch in size, estimated at 2 meters tall. But the most bizarre feature of the account was that it was said to be holding what looked like some sort of stone tool, like an axe. This is the only account of a Hibagan being that large or wielding any sort of weapon or tool. After 1982, sightings abruptly stopped. There are practically no reliable reports of the creature after this time. I wonder what was going on in that time period that would create such a craze or fad, perhaps. Like, in the early 1900s, there were a lot of dinosaur sightings, and they were all very much based on the dinosaurs in movies that were being produced at the time. The scientifically inaccurate dinosaur that's standing like totally upright with its tail dragging, and that's what people were seeing. And this almost feels the same.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
I think it could be the very same thing.
So what? Were there fucking, like, giant ape movies at the time? I don't know. We gotta look into that more.
No, I don't know. Maybe it's just like the Mothman shit, where he gets summoned for some kind of disaster or something.
Maybe the disaster monkey.
Yeah, like I was reading about the radiation cryptid Chernobyl, and it's the blackbird of Chernobyl, and it's like it showed up right before the disaster, and then it showed up after, and every time it showed up somewhere after, the radiation level spiked.
I see. Indeed. Should I go more on the Bigfoot of Japan? Here we go. I got an encounter. Before we begin, let's look at the creature at hand. The Japanese Bigfoot, commonly referred to as the Hibagan, is said to lurk in the forests of Mount Hiba in northern Hiroshima, from which it gains its namesake, as well as its surrounding wilderness. The Hibagan is typically described as being reddish-black, or reddish-brown, or black in color, and sometimes reported as having a patch of white fur. I've read this shit before. This is literally copy and pasted from the last website that I fucking read. Unfucking believable how they do that, huh?
That's pretty shitty journalism.
They got me again. Fucked me over. I bet there's something in here that's fresh. Let's just move on from this gay ass Hibagan. I'm sick of his bullshit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I thought Japan's ape would be better.
Well, here's the thing. We might not have the best Bigfoot in Japan, but what we do get is yokai. And there are many yokai that may or may not fit some of the descriptions of what we're talking about here. Let's check out the Satori. The translation apparently is enlightenment. It lives in the deep in the mountains of central Japan. It is a strange intelligent ape man. A strange intelligent ape man found in the mountains of Gifu. They are roughly man-sized and appear similar to larger versions of native monkeys found in the region. Satori appear to travelers on mountain roads or folks living in the mountain huts far from civilization. If the opportunity presents itself, they gladly dine on anyone they can get their hands on. In cases where they encounter a lone human female, they often take her away into the mountains and rape her. Satori are most well known for their uncanny ability to read people's minds and then speak their thoughts faster than the individual can get their words out. This makes it very difficult to hunt, trick, or escape from a hungry Satori. However, should something unforeseen happen, such as being unexpectedly hit by an object, Satori grow very frightened and run away. One of the only ways to avoid being eaten by one of these yokai is to completely empty one's mind. With no mind to read, the Satori grows bored and wanders away. We're already hitting the number of points here that go right into Bigfoot stuff. You know, stealing women into the mountains to rape them. Fuck yeah. It's all about, eating people, encountering them out in the middle of nowhere and stealing them away. It's the exact same motifs again and again.
Yeah, the missing 411 shit, too.
And I like how it ends off with like, you have to have a psychic battle with that motherfucker. You got to completely empty your mind, like the Buddha, or you're going to get eaten by him. So the name Satori literally means enlightenment in the Buddhist sense. The Satori, with its uncanny ability to read thoughts, comes across as a kind of enlightened being to scared travelers, which is how it got its name. This also relates to the method of escaping a Satori. True enlightenment comes from emptying one's mind of distracting worldly thoughts, just as salvation from the hungry Satori comes from an empty, Zen-like mindset. The origin of the Satori is not entirely clear. Edo period encyclopedias relate Satori with Yamako, apes from western China, and captures women to rape or to eat. Apes from western China and captures women to rape or eat. It has also been theorized that Satori are cousins of Yamabiku, a small monkey-like yokai. The Satori's ability to read people's minds and the Yamabiko's ability to mimic their words are rooted in the same folklore. More recent folklorists have suggested that Satori are fallen mountain gods of the ancient Proto-Shinto religion, which have been corrupted into yokai over the ages. So we'll go right from that into the Yamabiko.
Shit.
Its name means echo. It is in the forested mountains and valleys inside camphor trees as well. Diet unknown. The wilds of Japan are full of strange phenomena, like echoes that bounce back with more delay than they should, or that come back slightly different from the original sound. When the false echo comes from the forest, it is usually attributed to a kodama. When it comes from the mountains, it is due to something called a yamabiko. They are small, appearing like a cross between a dog and a wild monkey. So here we have these, small ape-like beasts that are out in the forest that are mimicking people.
That's like the Skinwalker shit.
Yamabiko are known almost exclusively by their voices. They are skilled at mimicking any sound, including natural sounds, human language, and trains and cars. They occasionally unleash terrible and mysterious screams deep in the forest that carry for long distances. Little is known about these yokai due to their rarity and elusiveness. They live deep in the mountains and make their homes in camphor trees, in close proximity to, and sharing a common ancestry with, other tree and mountain spirits. For many centuries, their calls were speculated to be a kind of rare bird, or other kinds of yokai, or even natural phenomena. It wasn't until the Edo period when determined yokai researchers like Sawaki Sushi and Toriyama Sekian began making illustrated yokai bestiaries that this creature's form was decided. Sarugami is another ape-like yokai. His name means monkey god or monkey spirit. Habitat, mountains, diet, omnivorous. Appearance, Sarugami looks like the wild monkeys that are found across the Japanese islands. However, they are bigger, more vicious, and much smarter. They can speak, and sometimes they are seen wearing human clothes as well. They are thought to be the remnants of an ancient monkey-worshipping cult. All that is left of this religion today are wicked monkey spirits who have degenerated into yokai. Sarugami behave for the most part like wild monkeys. They live in the mountains and tend to stay far away from human-inhabited areas. When Sarugami interact with humans, it almost always ends in violence. Most legends follow a similar pattern. A Sarugami kidnaps a young woman from a village, and heroes are called upon to go into the wilderness and exterminate the Sarugami. Like Oni, giant snakes, and other monsters, Sarugami are beasts meant to be slain by brave samurai. According to folklorist Yanagita Kunio, Sarugami are a prime example of fallen gods, spirits once revered as gods, but who have since been forgotten. These beliefs never entirely vanish, though, and such spirits often remain as degenerate versions of their former selves, i.e., yokai. Long ago, before Buddhism arrived, monkeys were worshipped as gods in part of Japan. The southern part of... What's that?
Weird.
Is it weird?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's
so.
everywhere else. It's they got it in Tibet and North America, but it's weird.
The southern part of Lake Biwa in modern-day Shiga Prefecture was an important center of monkey worship based at Hayoshi Taisha. Monkeys were seen as messengers and servants of the sun, in part because they become most active at sunrise and sunset. Because of this, monkey worship was popular among farmers, who also awoke and retired with the sun. Over the centuries, as farming technology improved, people became less reliant on subsistence farming. More and more people took up professions other than farming. As a result, monkey worship began to fade away, and the monkey gods were forgotten. Today, monkeys are viewed as pests by farmers, as they dig up crops, steal food from gardens, and sometimes even attack pets and small children. Don't blame the monkeys for that. They're trying. They're out there doing their best. Let's move on to a legend. A legend about one of these Sarugami. In Mimasaka Province, present-day Okayama Prefecture, there was a giant monkey who lived in the mountains. Every year, the Sarugami would demand a sacrifice of a young woman from the villages around the mountain. One year, a hunter happened to be staying at the house of the young woman who was chosen to be that year's sacrifice. Her family was devastated at the thought of losing their daughter, and the hunter took pity on them. He volunteered to take her place as a sacrifice. The hunter and his dog were loaded into a large chest and taken up into the mountains by some priests to be delivered to the Sarugami. After some time, a giant Sarugami, more than 2 meters tall, emerged from the woods, along with his entourage of over 100 monkeys. The hunter and his dog leaped from the chest and attacked. One by one, the monkeys fell, until only the Sarugami remained. Just then, the creature possessed one of the priests and spoke through him. The Sarugami asked for forgiveness and promised never to demand another sacrifice. The hunter allowed the Sarugami to run away, and the Sarugami has never asked for another sacrifice since. Here we have more telepathy and mind speak happening. In Omi Province, present-day Shiga Prefecture... What? I can barely hear you, Polak. You're barely coming through.
My microphone's probably fucking shit.
In Omi Province, I can sort of hear you. Present-day Shiga Prefecture, there lived an elderly farmer and his young daughter. The farmer toiled in his fields to exhaustion every day, while his daughter waited to be married off. But there were no suitors. One day, the farmer mumbled to himself, "Even a monkey would be okay, if only there was someone I could marry my daughter to, so they would come and work in my field." Just then, a giant monkey appeared and completed all of the old man's farm work. The following day, the Sarugami returned and demanded the old man's daughter as payment for his work. When the old man refused, the Saru grew angry at him for breaking his word, and he stole the man's daughter and ran into the mountains. Back in his den, the Sarugami kept the daughter tied up in a sack. Meanwhile, the old man begged a local noble to rescue his daughter. One day, while the Sarugami was away from his den, the noble snuck in and freed the girl. In her place, he put his dog in the sack. When the Sarugami returned to his den later, he opened the sack to check on his prisoner. The dog leapt out and killed him. That's how you get a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Let's
Makes
go
sense.
fucking hunt Bigfoots with... Bigfoot hates dogs. That's another thing. You always hear in stories about Bigfoot killing dogs, just breaking their necks or some shit. And it's said that Bigfoot stays away from humans who are with dogs.
Good to know.
Yeah, I've heard people that have neutral colored clothing, dogs, and guns usually do okay in the woods.
God willing. Remember that, everybody. Let's talk about the Yamachichi, another yokai. Translation of this name, none. Just a name for this monster. It lives deep in secluded mountains. Diet is life force in the form of the breath of sleeping humans. It's stealing prana?
Sounds like
It's like stealing friggin' energy.
Yamachichi live in northeastern Japan and originally come from bats. A long-lived bat transformed into Nobusama, which then, after many more years, transforms into a Yamachichi. These yokai resemble monkeys with pointed mouths and sucking lips. So these are like fucking...
vampires, yeah.
Yeah, they're vampire monkeys. They live deep in the mountains and pay visit to houses late at night. They steal the breath from their sleeping human victims, sucking it out of their mouths with their pointed lips. After sucking away all of their victims' sleeping breath, the Yamachichi taps its victim on the chest and then flees into the night. A human who has had its breath stolen this way will die the next day. However, if a Yamachichi should be caught in the act of stealing someone's breath, either by the victim or by another witness, it will flee, and their victim will actually have their lifespan greatly increased instead.
Oh, that's different.
The name Yamachichi only appears in Ihan... I can't say that, holy shit. Some Ihan shit. An Edo period yokai bestiary, and thus very little is known about them. The characters used to write the name literally mean mountainous region and breast or milk. But these are most likely ateji, characters assigned phonetically without regard to the original meaning of the word. The original meaning of the name is a mystery. The only explanation given is that they are called Yamachichi because they live hidden away in the mountains. Because they are very similar in shape to Satori, Yamachichi are often confused with this yokai and have picked up the alternative name Satorikai. Connections all around. So all of these weird ape ethereal beasts of the wilderness in Japan, they all have these connections. And they all have these connections to what we call Bigfoot and other sorts of wild men spirits. Amazing. Amazing. What else do I have? Let's move on to our next video. Something sort of unrelated, but at the same time I feel like it's relevant.
A father and son who ran away from their village during the Vietnamese War 40 years ago were allegedly found living in a treehouse in a remote jungle on Thursday. The pair had survived without contact with the outside world, eating wild rice and foraging for fruit and vegetables. Hovan Tan fled from Trughem village in fear with 2-year-old Hovan Lang after a mine exploded, killing his wife and 2 other sons. Tan made a den in the trees and the 2 reportedly wore loincloths made out of tree bark. Reports said villagers chopping firewood raised the alarm after spotting 2 jungle men. Tan, 82, and 41-year-old Lang were found after a 5-hour search and are now having full medical checkups. According to media reports, officials in Quang Ngai province said Tan...
Is that guy 82?
Apparently so.
I don't know.
He's living good, dude. Take me out into the jungle. I want to be 82, looking like that. 40 years in the jungle? It's not that long, really.
Tan speaks a small amount of the local dialect, but his son knows only odd words. Reports said attempts will now be made to slowly reintegrate them back into society.
Dude's 82 years old. Don't reintegrate him into fucking shit. You think he wants to see a fucking smartphone?
No.
No, that dude he's living like this head cave dream.
He's got it going on. They just want to ruin it for everybody. So what about them rock apes in Vietnam? While we're talking about Viet fucking Nam.
Oh yeah, Vietnam got some kind of Bigfoot.
Yeah, they have the rock ape.
During the Vietnam War, the American soldiers would see. I think it was similar to the Japanese Bigfoot in that they were smaller ape humanoid creatures, at least bipedal ape creatures that would throw rocks, which is another Bigfoot tactic.
Yeah, and that's the thing you hear, like Bigfoot trying to kill dogs with rocks.
Yeah.
Throwing rocks. Yeah.
So it didn't just originate with the Vietnam War. There was always this idea of the Batutut. The Batutut. It's the forest people or wild men, supposedly from many wilderness areas of Vietnam, Laos, and northern Borneo. The Vu Quang, which is another name for it, I guess, has been the source of a number of newly discovered... the Vu Quang it's a nature reserve, my bad. The Vukwang Nature Reserve has been the source of a number of newly discovered mammals by Dr. John McKinnon. McKinnon claims to have first observed tracks in 1970 that led him to believe that a hominid similar to the Meganthropus lives there. Instead, cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman believes that the Batutut are a surviving population of Homo erectus or Neanderthal. McKinnon's 1975 book, In Search of the Red Ape, describes his experiences and findings. A 1947 sighting by a French colonist refers to the animal as a wild man. Vietnamese scholars refer to the animal as the forest man. It is described as being approximately 7 feet tall, covered with hair, exception to its knees and the soles of its feet, its hands, and its face. The hair ranges in color from gray to brown to black. The creature walks on 2 legs and has been sighted alone and gregariously. The creature is most often sighted foraging for food from fruits and leaves to langurs and even flying foxes. In Borneo, witnesses describe it as 4 feet tall and very aggressive, occasionally killing humans and tearing out their livers. So this was an idea long before it was seen by U.S. soldiers.
See, that's interesting because it's the same with like Native Americans seeing Bigfoot before colonists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in his 2001 Ballantine book, Very Crazy GI, Strange But True Stories of the Vietnam War, veteran Craig P.J. Jorgensen relates a sighting of such a creature by a team of LRRPs. The men refer to it as a rock ape, reporting it as being small in stature, about 5 feet tall, and having a reddish tinge to its fur. 2 of them were reportedly captured by tribesmen near Dak Lak province in 1971. In 1974, a North Vietnamese general, Hoang Minh Thao, requested an expedition to find evidence of the creatures, but it was unsuccessful. They just keep getting away with it. And like, I mean, could this be like, I don't know. I feel like this should just be another similar creature to the one we saw in the dirt bike video from Indonesia.
Right?
Yeah, if it's only 5 foot tall and it's red, yeah.
Footprints. Professor Tran Hong Viet of Pedagogic University of Hanoi, a researcher of this creature, announced in 1982 that he had found similar footprints to those of McKinnon in 1970, measuring 28 by 16 centimeters, of which he made casts. He had been making an extensive post-war inventory of natural resources, and while collecting specimens near Chu Mo Ray in Sa Thay district, he came across the prints. A photograph of the cast of the prints was later published by Fortean News of the World. One of the fifth season of Sci-Fi. I don't care about what Sci-Fi did. Did they prove it? Did they uncover it? So that's the story of the Batutut.
Forest people.
Alright, so I do have more shit I can read here. More shit about the rock apes.
Sounds good.
Let's do it. A wild rock ape report from the Vietnam War. Let's just skip to the fucking report here. I don't want to fucking read any fucking bullshit. The witness, who prefers to remain anonymous and who I will call Ray, like many others, who had encounters with the rock apes, was allegedly part of a military patrol deep in the forbidding jungles of Vietnam, which was swarming with mosquitoes, diseases, hostile enemy guerrilla fighters, and the whole of it constantly overshadowed by the ever-present specter of looming death by disease, the elements, or enemy fire. This particular incident supposedly happened in 1969, as the witness and his men slogged through an area particularly known for Viet Cong activity. They were weary from trudging through the thick jungle, constantly on edge, bogged down with heavy packs, and their eyes tired from perpetually squinting and peering into the undergrowth, looking for possible enemy movement out there in the gloom. It was in this state of exhaustion that they came to a forested hill and decided to make camp for the night, with many of them lying back right then and there for a rest. The witness describes the location. I want to say a hill, but it was really just a big dirt mound jutting up out of the ground and capped off by a crown of thick trees and brush. It was nearly impenetrable up there, and we thought it would be a good place to just lie low for a while, right against the mound of the forest. We set up watch details before waiting for the coming night and all that entails. Ray was awoken from his nap by the night sentry at around dusk, and the other soldier seemed very excited and in a near panic. He told Ray that he had seen someone up on a hill, but that whoever it was had been able to nearly instantly melt into the darkened wilderness. Ray got up and geared up to go have a look, thinking that this certainly had to be the enemy. And when he got to the base of the hill, he looked up into the jungle-choked slope, but could not see anything. The other men were beginning to gather around as well, and with the sentry insisting that he had seen something, they decided that it was worth checking out. Ray and one of the other men started cautiously up the hill, and this was when the first series of weird events would unfold. The witness says, "The other guy stops me and silently starts pointing up toward a stand of trees. I didn't notice anything at first, but then I saw it, a sort of black shape silhouetted against the reddening sky. I thought for sure it had to be a Viet Cong, and I had my rifle immediately at the ready. But you have to remember that we were deep in enemy territory. You didn't just go off shooting your weapon unless you were really sure, and so I just sort of dropped and kept my eye on the figure. It seemed to just be standing there and was sort of swaying back and forth in this really weird way." Another thing that's right out of many, many Bigfoot reports is like swaying in the trees. I couldn't make out any real details.
Almost, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, dancing almost, they say.
A little bit. I couldn't make out any real details, but I could sort of make out that it did not seem to be of normal proportions. The legs seemed too short, the arms too long, and the way it moved in that weird sway was definitely eerie. The guy I was with started creeping farther up the hill, and that was when this thing, whatever it was, just sort of took a few long leaps up the slope to vanish into the trees. It moved so fast and so gracefully that I was not sure as to whether I was not as sure that this was an enemy soldier as I had once been. The two retreated back to camp to tell the others about what they had seen, and Ray at the time sort of thought it had looked like a large primate of some sort, but no one knew anything about something like that being a feature of the known wildlife. The other soldier had been concurred with this, and explained that he had gotten the sense that it was sort of like an orangutan, which the others guffawed at. There were, after all, no orangutans in Vietnam, nothing close. They went about fanning out and doing a sweep of the base of the hill. But there was nothing to be found, no sign that there had ever been anyone there. But then the rocks started coming. Ray explains how a large stone landed right by his feet, followed by another that whizzed by his head to go crashing into some nearby brush. And then there was a booming, knocking sound like someone slapping a stick against a tree, so we have tree knocking here. He says of the tense situation, "Someone or something up there was hurling these rocks down on us with a lot of power. One of them damn near took my head off. We thought it might be an enemy, but what sort of insane Viet Cong maniac with his own weapon would choose to sit up there on that hill and throw rocks onto a fully armed patrol when he had nowhere to go? We had that little shithole of a hill totally surrounded. Then there was this loud knocking sound, like someone going to town on a tree with a baseball bat, and all I could think was that I wanted him to shut that damn racket up before every enemy for miles came zoning in on us." This knocking noise is a curious feature of this account, as the practice of wood knocking is well known among Bigfoot researchers. This is when the alleged creature hits wood sticks together or beats on a tree to create loud knocks for inscrutable purposes, although it is thought to be an intimidation or bluff tactic. If this is real, then it provides a fascinating look into another hairy hominid of the wilds of Vietnam, half a world away, utilizing a similar strategy. And I would say I don't think it's an intimidation thing at all. I think that's a hunting tactic, first and foremost. I think they communicate between each other via wood knocks in ways that wouldn't immediately startle whatever their prey animal is.
That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, yeah.
This knocking continued for some time, and the men were getting very trigger happy at this point, ready to go up there with guns blazing, but they were told to stand down and hold their fire. Then things would reach a climax, of which Ray says, "These guys were ready to fight, certain that there was some Viet Cong guy up there trying to call in his friends, but we were told not to open fire. We were scared, man. And the fact that me and the other guy had seen that weird ape-like silhouette and told everyone about it didn't help matters one bit. Then the shit hit the fan. We heard a very loud, obnoxious whooping sound. And then from seemingly out of nowhere, this thing comes flying out of the trees past us. We could all see it very clearly this time. About 5 feet tall, hunched over, covered with grayish, scraggly hair, and with a squashed-in, gorilla-like face. It stank something fierce as it dashed right on past us, making that god-awful noise. It sounded sort of a mix between a monkey's whoop and the bark of a dog. And then it was gone, and we all just looked at each other like, did you just fucking see that? Never saw anything like that before or since. We decided to get out of there as fast as we could. I asked the witness what he thought was going on exactly, and he had the interesting idea that whatever it had been perhaps trapped up on that hill, cowering in the trees when the men had arrived, and feeling as if it was unable to escape. Maybe he was scared and didn't know what to do, starting with scoping these human intruders out before resorting to try to frightening them off with rocks and wood knocking, before finally deciding to make a mad dash run for it. This actually makes a lot of sense, and one gets the impression that whatever it was might have been just as frightened of the men as they had been of it. So, are we buying this story? It's from some nonsense source. The problem is I would like to know more about the source, about the person who said it, about, like, so this is an article from 2020. You could very easily just slap together a bunch of Bigfoot reports and make something like this and say it was from Vietnam, but at the same time it has a lot of its own character. Like it's a story of something much more animal, it sounds like, much more of a primate than most Bigfoot stories.
Maybe it was a very mature Bigfoot.
That's possible. I believe it.
Like you've heard, like the theory that the Bigfoots people see are the juveniles.
Yeah.
Because,
they're ballsy. They don't know what they're doing yet. They don't know how to employ their stealth tactics. I'll just start reading this random shit. In one account from jungle veteran Robert Baird's diary, he describes an incident in which his unit began hearing inexplicable noises along the outer perimeter of their camp late at night. Not knowing if what they were hearing was normal jungle life for the enemy, a Mexican-American corporal nicknamed Pancho took it upon himself to go out to investigate in the evening. Pancho determinedly marched up the hill to the communications bunker to see what was going on. When the corporal was on his way back, he was witness to let off several short bursts of fire from his weapon before hurrying back to camp in a somewhat unsettled, agitated state. Almost immediately, the unit's lieutenant had been on the radio demanding to know who was firing and at what. When Pancho reached the camp, he excitedly related that he had been walking back and had noticed a bush that had not been there before. When he had leaned down to take a look, it had then allegedly snorted at him, causing him to panic and fire. Baird would later say, what he had encountered was the ubiquitous rock ape of Vietnam. I would come to learn that they were nearly everywhere and quite fearless. That is what we had heard near the wire that night. So hearing these fucking creatures, them coming strangely close. That's one thing that's really standing out about these rock ape reports, is how close these creatures are getting. You never hear of Bigfoot getting this close to people unless they're literally stealing them.
Well, we don't.
Might be like a different species of creature.
It could be. And I mean, it almost sounds more ape-like to me in that, like, apes are pretty, like, in the modern day, apes are easy to track down into film. I don't want to say easy, but, like, you know, they've done it many times.
So we want more video of these things, obviously.
Absolutely. That's what I want.
Should they be the same thing we saw from the Indonesian dirtbag video?
In another encounter from 1969, a patrol was caught off guard by enemy fire, after which everyone took cover. It was then that something strange made its presence known to one of the group. As the witness was lying there, avoiding getting shot, there was a figure that broke out of the thick vegetation, which at first seemed to be a large man. But as it ran past, it was clear this was something else altogether. The figure was described as being around 7 feet in height, impressively built, and mostly covered with reddish hair. Whatever it was moved extremely quickly. but was then caught by some bullets in the crossfire, after which it stumbled but didn't go down. It was then that the enemy began yelling something to each other excitedly that the witness could not understand before running off, with one of the enemy even leaving his weapon behind in a panicked haste. The American patrol regrouped and headed to a more secure area, and that night they were assailed by a barrage of strange animalistic noises from the night, sounding like whines, barks, howls, and grunts. The next day, some of the patrol requested permission to go investigate what had been seen and heard the previous day, and as a search was underway, they came across an enemy soldier that had seemed to have been viciously torn apart. The patrol was so disturbed by the gruesome sight that they ran back to their base by the hill, and one of the witnesses would later say, "The rest of the time we were in Vietnam, I had never heard the sounds or saw anything like that again. The talk of what we had seen spread very quickly, and some of the locals called it a name that I can neither pronounce nor remember. But the translation, if I recall, was stench monkey or foul monkey, something like that. I can't remember for sure. What I do know is that it bothered me so much that I transferred from there to a job on a helicopter so that I wouldn't have to be in the jungle anymore." So that stanky monkey be at it again, dude.
It's like the fucking skunk ape.
He is. He's very much a skunky ape. Some of the rock ape accounts are truly dramatic and frightening. One such account given by Michael Kelly of D Company, I don't know what the fuck any of this means, describes not one rock ape, but hundreds of them. In the account, in 1969, 8 of the strange creatures came casually walking up a trail on a ridge of Nui Mo Tao and surprised a platoon that was in the middle of having lunch when they turned a ridge about 10 meters from where the men were situated. According to Kelly, the platoon at first immediately thought they were Viet Cong, and all hell broke loose. The squad of men opened up with M16s, M79s, and grenade launchers, lighting up the forest in a vicious display of booming firepower and flying pieces of vegetation.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
The M79 is a grenade launcher.
Sweet, dude.
So,
you gotta double up sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, there's 2 grenade launchers.
Sure, why not? Kelly himself was at the far end of a clearing, about 50 meters from where the barrage of continuous shooting had started, and he grabbed a weapon to run to join them, along with the platoon sergeant taking cover under a toppled tree. For a few moments, Kelly and the platoon sergeant stayed hidden as the cacophony of gunfire erupted everywhere. When they finally gave each other the nod to engage, they popped out from behind the tree, ready to see a sizable enemy force descending upon them, judging by the non-stop barrage of relentless gunfire. What they saw instead was the platoon firing away at ghostly images that were swooshing through the bushes and trees all around them. The mysterious intruders were described as being around 5.5 feet tall, and all but one was light brown to reddish brown in color. The other was almost black, and was a particularly aggressive large male, which reportedly madly rushed at men through the thick underbrush, snarling and with teeth bared. Throughout the frightening encounter, the ape-like beasts reportedly made sounds that sounded exactly like dogs barking. Then the creatures, whatever they were, abruptly melted away into the forest, disappearing as if they had never been there. When the surprised platoon regained their composure, they searched the bullet-riddled, gun-smoke-permeated area and found no sign of any dead bodies of the animals, and oddly, not even any fur or blood. So we got the dog barking again. They're barking, and that's like a pretty common thing for apes, I think. Like I feel like I've heard like gorillas and chimps do that before.
Amazing.
Kelly would remark in the surreal scene, "This may sound very strange to you, but although I had no or little concern about killing the enemy, the killing of innocent animals turned my stomach and could enrage me if done without being a necessity. But I searched the site and found not one drop of blood, which totally amazed me given the amount of firing that had gone on. I wonder to this day if the men were shooting just to scare the rock apes away, or whether they were really just poor marksmen. The men who'd suffered the surprise looked a bit worse for wear, and I'm sure a few had to wash their shorts out as a result of the unwelcome visit. It really scared the crap out of them, I kid you not."
There goes like the terror feeling you get with like Bigfoot stories where people get like really terrified and frozen with fear.
Yep. they'll say like infrasound is what comes up all the time. It's like supposedly tigers do it to paralyze their prey. That maybe these things can do it too. So Hill 868 apparently became known among the men as being allegedly so infested with the rock apes that it was called Monkey Mountain. In 1968, members of Mike Company of the 3rd Battalion of the 5th Marines operating on Hill 868 apparently often came across plentiful physical evidence of the creatures there, such as droppings, tufts of hair, or footprints, as well as hearing their eerie barks and cries at night, and the rock apes even occasionally assaulted them with rocks lobbed from the jungle. The apes were described as throwing like girls, but with velocity, and men were reported as being often seriously injured by the hurled stone projectiles. In one account given by a veteran named Steve Canyon, a unit of Marines was out in the jungle of Hill 868 at night testing out a new muzzle flash and noise suppressor for their weapons. As they were setting up, they suddenly noticed a rock ape glaring at them from the thick vegetation, reportedly completely unafraid. After a few moments of staring at the soldier, the creature was said to then let out a sound like the bark of a dog. One of the men threw a rock at it to scare it away, and it hit dead on, after which the ape picked up a rock of its own and hurled it at them. It was then noticed that there were more of the rock apes gathering all around in the jungle, around 20 of them, which all began screeching, howling, and throwing rocks at the frightened men in unison. Despite the threatening situation, the unit did not open fire, instead making a hasty retreat. When asked later why they had not shot at the creatures, Canyon would say, "I don't know, it didn't seem right, but those apes started to come at us, and we ran as fast as we could, and we didn't stop until we were out of the jungle."
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too interested in shooting hundreds of monkeys.
The problem is here that you've got to kill one of them. If you don't kill one of them, you never prove that they're an actual species, and you can't conserve them. So you just got to pop one in the head, drag it back with you, prove its existence. Then we can go on to do the right thing from there. But you got to fucking burst one of their melons into 1,000 pieces. That's a definite part of the process here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sounds awesome. Yeah. In another rather spectacular report published in the New York Times Letters on April 18, 2010, a man named Graham Webster tells of a curious event that occurred at a strategic artillery summit on the western end of the DMZ called the Rock Pile. One evening, sometime in 1967, Marines from the 4th Marine Regiment were assaulted by a large number of rock apes, which were said to inhabit the caves of the area. The Marines fought back in a prolonged burst of firepower, which lit up the night. In the morning, there were allegedly corpses of the ape-like creatures strewn about, and they were included in the sitrep briefing. Is that what that word is? I have no idea. Sitrep briefing body count. This incident sounds very much like the battle between Marines and rock apes that allegedly occurred at Hill 868. The Battle of Dong Den. Dong Den, dude? That's where I want to live, is Dong Den. Which also was claimed to have left bodies of the dead beasts in its wake. It is unclear what happened to any of these bodies in the aftermath. In addition to bodies, there have been live creatures allegedly captured, with one notable report being that 2 of the creatures were caught by tribesmen near Daklak province in 1971. Again, it is uncertain whatever became of these creatures, although considering it was wartime and most had more serious issues weighing on their minds, one wonders if anyone actually went there to investigate the veracity of the claims at all. But if I was those tribespeople, I would definitely eat it for good luck.
Right? I know, I would be eating that thing.
Yeah, dude, it definitely has some medicinal properties. I want to know. We're going to Mega Man this shit. I'm going to eat it and take its power. Exactly. So from there, I think we can move on to the Philippines. Talk a little bit about the Bukit Timah Monkey Man. The Bukit Timah Monkey Man is a legendary creature named Adam, said to inhabit Singapore. Why does it say that? I thought it was called Bukit Timah Monkey Man. It's a way cooler name than Adam. The creature is often cited as a forest-dwelling hominid or primate, and is also accounted for as being immortal. However, its exact identity remains unknown and its existence disputed. Documentation of the monkey man is sparse and scattered. The creature is largely considered a product of local folklore. So now when we're talking about immortal, I feel like this almost has to be tied in with some sort of deity.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be, and like, you know, obviously folklore is going to be tied to like religion in some way. But I don't think this is no Bigfoot. This sounds like some sort of Hanuman creature.
It could be, you know, like they have the friggin', you know, Hinduism's not too far from there, and you get the monkey deities there.
That's true. Alleged sightings of the animal are rare. Records mainly come from Malay folklore, accounts from Japanese soldiers in World War II, and occasional unconfirmed reports from local residents. The first claimed sighting is said to have occurred in about 1805, and the most recent was in 2007. The monkey man is said to be a hominid-like creature with a really small butt. He's got a Hank Hill ass, dude. Don't say he has a small butt. Don't tell him that. He already knows that. You gotta rub it in. He's grayish in color, about 5'10" in height, with a bipedal gait. Many described his face as human, with two big monkey-like ears on his head. All sightings have been centered upon the Bukit Timah region. So sightings are rare, almost entirely contained within the Bukit Timah region and its vicinity. The first report of the creature was in 1805 when a Malay elder claimed to have seen an upright walking monkey-faced creature in the Bukit Timah area. Japanese soldiers also reported sightings of the creature during World War II. In 2007, a series of sightings were reported in the Singapore tabloid The New Paper. Has since featured the cryptid on its papers, gathering accounts from a number of witnesses. So we got a regular bat boy going on here. You know, the monkey man idea, it can be found in many places. Like, there's many places all over the world, and many states that have their own monkey man legend. There in New Jersey, there is the Hoboken Monkey Man. And
what's he supposed to be like?
So, like, he was just in, like, some area of Jersey, and kids were, like, coming home from school, and a bunch of them reported seeing a monkey man walking around and, like, interacting with them. And he was, I don't know, that's all there really was to it. It's like a hairy dude.
I don't want my children interacting with monkey man.
Loveland Frogman.
Yeah.
Away with my children.
It's just another local cryptid, I guess. The Chinese language paper Xinmin Daily News also reported on the monkey man in 2008, stating that the monkey man would appear after dark in the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. The paper described the creature as having the face of a monkey but walking upright like a man. It dispatched a journalist to comb for evidence, but the expedition proved futile. The Bukit Timah Nature Reserve official take provided at, what the fuck is this? What are these words? They think it's a fucking macaque. They think it's macaque. I don't think that's true. I think it's a monkey man. In late 22, the Bukit Timah monkey man was allegedly spotted by a night hiker in an event that was extensively covered in local media reports. Couldn't find any media reports on that.
Gotta search in Chinese, probably.
The fucking monkey man. Keep your eyes peeled out there, folks, for monkey men. And if you see them, bash them in the head with sticks. You got to get them out of your town. All the local monkey men got to become not local monkey men. You're somewhere else. You're living somewhere far away, dude. You ain't in my hood no more. The fuck else do we got? Anything else we want to talk about? You had some other stuff. Pollock, once again, he gave an outline for the stream. I almost disregarded it completely, to be honest. But I used
it was pretty good. We covered most of what I posted. So, I mean, we can save the rest for other, because we've been on. It's almost 10:30.
Yeah, we're getting there. Fucking, I would like to go into Shinto a little more. That's always been a difficult one for me. Fine. And to connect Shinto to the yokai, to Bigfoot and all of that sounds like a really cool thing to do.
It sounds like it's done already because that's just how it is, right?
You tell me. Tell me more about the Shinto. I can't explain Shinto. I know it's like mostly animism and folk religion. I don't know anything about it other than that. You tell me.
Well, it's basically like you got your everything has intelligence in it, right? So everything's alive, and so since everything is alive, everything's a deity. So then the monkey people are deities. So then there's probably like an ancient Shinto cult of the monkey people, but then over time it was forgotten.
So when you, I guess this seems common too, is that like you worship these things as gods. The age turns, the tide turns in society. Things just aren't the same anymore, and these things that were gods get like demoted to like some sort of spirits, almost like, you know, you see it in Christianity, like the Fae are seen as like nature spirits that ultimately became demons once Christianity took over.
Yeah.
So I mean, like repurposing these things.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. With that, I think we have covered all of our content for the evening. I want to remind everybody to go to yakobees.com, hit that merch tab, patreon.com/yakovalive. You want to come hang out in the Discord. Yeah, definitely buy shirt. Fucking A. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week to do more fucking weird paranormal shit. Goddamn. Make sure everybody's got to go sub to K98's channel on YouTube. K98 Paranormal. You'll probably find them. Look for Skinwalker Book Club. Make sure you sub that. We got more cool shit coming.
We do. We got lots of cool shit coming. We're going to have book club where everybody can come and read the books, and we'll learn all about what's in the books.
We've been talking about Hermeticism lately.
Yeah.
And next episode, maybe we'll do some stuff on humanoid cryptids.
Okay. Whatever you think, man.
Yeah,
tell me what direction to go in.
Like we can cover the ghouls. I got some ghoul videos of supposed sightings in Saudi Arabia and ghouls.
Fantastic. All right. Y'all.
There's one where one's like climbing on a cave wall, and it's pretty fucking good. Like
cave ghouls?
Fake as if it's a frog. Yeah.
Dude.
Like the only theory I've seen on how it could be faked is if it's a frog, and they're like zoomed way in on it.
I'm excited for this one. Y'all fucking catch this shit next week. God fucking speed, everybody. Thank you for watching. Love all of you fucking people.